Hello, my name is Dr. Heather Brown, or Dr. Heather, as my students call me. I've always been a little uncomfortable with the doctor title, even though I worked so hard to earn it. I am a first generation college student, and I come from a very humble background. I always felt a little bit weird, a little bit of an imposter when using the title. But when I lived in the South, many of the people I worked with would use Dr. Heather, and it felt warmer to me, less boastful. So I really appreciated it when my students here started using it. For my educational background, I earned a Bachelor of Arts degree, summa cum laude and Phi Beta Kappa from Lake Forest College, a Master of Theological Studies degree from Harvard University's Divinity School, and a Doctor of Education degree from Northern Illinois University. Going to college was not something that was really a goal of my family for my life. Going to college was something you only did if you wanted to be a doctor or a lawyer. If you were going for any schooling outside of high school, it ought to be for something practical. You could study at a tech school. I mean, I grew up in a trailer park, on welfare, living on government cheese and food stamps. I knew I was smart and curious, but so what? All that ever got me was being teased, and one time physically assaulted by kids I went to school with because I messed up the curve on a test. As a teen, I felt that poor people like me didn't deserve opportunity. I honestly don't know why I thought I should or could go to college. I really only knew that I wanted to leave my small town, and that going away to college seemed like the only way to do that. I ended up selecting a college to attend by randomly placing my finger in the Peterson's Guide to Selective Colleges. I mean that literally. I picked up a copy of the book at the library and fanned it and just stuck my finger in. The place where it landed was the only school I applied to. I was 16. I didn't have any clue. My first weeks at college were so overwhelming. I didn't understand anything. I didn't feel like I fit in. I didn't know how to use a computer for anything except playing Oregon Trail. But I knew that going home was not an option for me, and I was just going to bowl my way through it. In many ways, though, I feel that I got fairly lucky in where I went to college. It was a small, very small liberal arts college, and there were many processes in place that made navigating things like FAFSA and class registration fairly easy. I also eventually found a cadre of super smart science nerd friends with whom I meshed really well, even though I had moved on from studying biology to religion and women's studies. Still, I would have really floundered without the attention of several very kind faculty and staff at the college who watched out for me and helped me through everything. When I graduated, my family was not there, but a host of professors and staff stood in the aisle for me and touched my hand as I walked to the stage to get my diploma. I'm not ashamed to say that I cried. I also think I got very lucky in not only the when I went to college, but also in the fact that I did go to a small liberal arts college. My college was very focused on critical thinking and teaching students how to learn. I was allowed to explore. I was not forced to come in with a major. It was always assumed that I would eventually find work, but I was not forced to focus on only developing job skills. I was allowed to develop and implement my intellectual capacity, and I was encouraged to attend all sorts of learning opportunities, from lectures and workshops to field trips and doing actual research with professors. In terms of my major and eventual career path, I started college as a biology and psychology major, but I realized very early on that I hated working in the lab. I also developed an autoimmune disease my first semester and took the rest of the term off to heal. When I returned, I was one of the last students able to register, and there were almost no courses left open for me to take. The dean of students, who was also a professor in the religion department, offered to have me take his upper level religion in contemporary America course and agreed to help me with extra tutoring if I struggled. I loved it. I was so intrigued by the discussions of how religion interacted with politics and cultural norms that I ended up pursuing an independent major that I created myself that included coursework from religion, philosophy, English, sociology, logic, anthropology, and women's studies. And I never had any problems finding work once I graduated because I learned how to think critically, how to analyze, communicate clearly, write well, and problem solve. This is not to say my college experience was all peaches and cream. I did get a lot of patronizing advice from wealthy folks who sponsored scholarships and activities on campus, people who felt like they needed to make me better than my background. Or at least that's often how I felt. I also did not really understand how student loans worked and ended up with a lot of debt from all of my degree programs that I paid for more than 20 years. And that really affected my ability to move out of the poverty that I grew up in. It wasn't until just recently that I finally feel not poor, even though the fear of slipping back into poverty hangs over me all the time. It's something I've never been able to shake. I wish more people really understood how much you feel like an imposter when you are a first gen student, how much you question whether you belong on campus, whether you fit in. Also, that you don't know what you don't know, and certainly cannot ask about things because you don't know that you don't know. Another thing I wish more folks understood is that even as you struggle with not fitting in at college, you may also be starting to struggle with fitting in at home. Your life experiences change you. Being exposed to new knowledge, new people, and new environments all change you. In terms of advice for others, I guess the most important that I would give is that college is an investment in terms of time, money, and energy. So get involved and do things. Be curious, explore, go to talks, go to performances, join a club, but also remember to take time for you, time to rest. Don't get too focused on specific job skills. Learn to learn and develop transferable skills so that you are prepared for the job that doesn't even exist yet. Take on as little debt as possible, even if it means it takes you longer to finish your degree. Loan debt is just structured very problematically, and you can get trapped into paying off far more than you ever borrowed because wages have not kept up with inflation. And even if you think you can get ahead of the interest, it is so hard to actually do so. Finally, remember that you are worth every bit of your educational experience and don't let anyone convince you otherwise.